I'm standing in my father's church office holding a pregnancy test when I realize the baby inside my wife isn't a miracle. It's a crime. Let me back up. 3 days ago, I found the test in our bathroom trash. 2 pink lines. Bold. Undeniable. I remember dropping to my knees right there on the tile, actually thanking God for finally answering our prayers. Grace and I had been trying for 2 years. 2 years of negative tests, of her crying in my arms every month, of me telling her it would happen when it was meant to happen. And then there it was, those 2 lines. I found the medical appointment card tucked in her purse. March 14th, circled in her looping handwriting, estimated conception date. I stared at that date for a full minute before my brain processed what it meant. I'd been in Honduras since February 28th. On a church mission trip, building houses, leading youth groups, doing exactly what a good pastor's son does. I didn't get home until March 31st. The cardstock feels flimsy in my hands now, like it might disintegrate, like my marriage. The bathroom still smelled like her lavender soap that morning. Sweet. Wrong. Grace is in our kitchen. I can hear her actually humming while she makes coffee. The sound scrapes against my skull. I walk downstairs. Each step creaks under my weight. She turns when I enter, and her smile is so genuine, so full of hope, that for a second I think maybe I did the math wrong. Maybe. Grace, when exactly did this happen? I place the appointment card on the counter between us. Because I was in Honduras when... She won't look at me. The coffee maker gurgles. Steam rises between us. She sets down her mug, and her hand is shaking so badly that coffee sloshes over the rim. Daniel, I can explain. Her voice is small, childlike. Nothing like the confident youth leader who teaches teenage girls about purity and faith every Wednesday night. Then explain. I'm surprised by how calm I sound, like I'm asking her about dinner plans, not about whose baby is growing inside her. She sinks into a chair, wraps both hands around the mug like it's a life preserver. I didn't mean for it to... Who? One word. That's all I can manage. A tissue box sits on the table. She pulls out 3 tissues at once, clutches them, doesn't use them, just holds them. The counseling sessions, she whispers. I was struggling. You were gone so much with the youth ministry, and your father offered to... She stops, swallows. He said he could help me through my issues, with anxiety, with feeling like I wasn't good enough. My father. She's talking about my father. The room tilts. I grip the counter edge. Grace! Her name tastes like ash. Are you telling me... It was the counseling sessions with your father. I didn't know how to... The doorbell rings. She flinches like it's a gunshot. We both freeze. The bell rings again, longer this time, insistent. Don't answer it, Grace pleads. Daniel, please, just let me... But I'm already walking to the door. My legs move on autopilot. My brain is somewhere else entirely, replaying every time my father put his hand on Grace's shoulder after service. Every time he offered her pastoral guidance. Every time he said, let me counsel her privately, son. Some things are too delicate for husbands to handle. I open the door. My mother stands on the porch. Margaret Carter, First Lady of First Baptist Church, wearing her Sunday best even though it's Tuesday. Her eyes are red. She's been crying, but her jaw is set with that steel I've seen her use to run church committees and silence gossip. We need to talk, she says. At the church, your father's waiting. I should ask how she knows. How she possibly knows about a conversation that happened 3 minutes ago in my kitchen. But I already understand. Grace called her, or my father did. Somehow, they're all already ahead of me. Already planning, already controlling the narrative. Let's go, I hear myself say. The drive to First Baptist takes 8 minutes. I've made this trip 10,000 times in my life. I was baptized in that building when I was 7. I was married in that sanctuary when I was 23. I've taught Sunday school, led worship, counseled struggling teenagers in those same rooms where apparently my father, I can't finish the thought. My mother doesn't speak during the drive. She sits rigid in the passenger seat, her hands folded in her lap, prayer hands. But she's not praying. She's strategizing. I know that look. The church parking lot is empty except for my father's silver sedan. It gleams in the morning sun. Washed and waxed, as always. Pastor David Carter takes care of his possessions. His office is at the end of the administrative wing. Dark wood door with a bronze nameplate. Senior Pastor, Reverend David Carter. I've walked through that door 1,000 times to ask for advice, to pray, to tell him about answered prayers. I push it open without knocking. He's sitting behind his desk, not pacing, not panicked, sitting. His Bible is open in front of him, the leather one with the worn spine that he's carried for 30 years, the one he uses for every sermon, every counseling session, every hospital visit. Song of Solomon. The book is open to Song of Solomon. Son, he says, just that one word. His voice is calm, pastoral, the same voice he uses when he's comforting widows or praying over the sick. Don't. I stay standing. Don't son me right now. He closes the Bible. The pages whisper as they settle. Yellow highlighter bleeds through the tissue-thin pages. I can see it from here, verse after verse, marked up, annotated. Sit down, Daniel. Let's talk about this like adults. Like adults? I laugh. It comes out harsh, jagged. You got my wife pregnant and you want to talk like adults? My mother flinches behind me. I hear her inhale sharply, but she doesn't speak, still strategizing. My father stands. He's tall, taller than me by 2 inches, and he uses that height now, moving around the desk. Authority posture. I've seen him use it from the pulpit when he needs to command respect. It's not that simple, he says. Grace came to me broken, desperate. She was struggling with thoughts of inadequacy, of failure as a wife. She needed guidance, spiritual mentorship. What happened between us was... He pauses, chooses his words carefully. An extension of God's love. I stare at him, at this man who taught me to ride a bike, who baptized me, who walked me through my calling to ministry. This man who is now standing in his office in God's house, telling me that impregnating my wife was spiritual mentorship. An extension of God's love. I repeat slowly. That's what you're calling it. He reaches for his Bible, picks it up. The leather cover is worn smooth where his thumbs have gripped it over decades of sermons. It falls open automatically to those marked pages. Song of Solomon 4:7. You are altogether beautiful, my darling. There is no flaw in you. He reads, I was helping her see herself as God sees her, as beautiful, as worthy. You wouldn't understand spiritual intimacy at that level, Daniel. You're still young in your faith. In the margin next to that verse, I see initials, GM Grace Mitchell, my wife's maiden name, and below it, other initials, RH. 2 more sets I don't recognize. My stomach lurches. How many? The words scrape out of my throat. How many women have you counseled? You're going to destroy this family over a misunderstanding. His voice hardens, shifts from pastoral to paternal. Your mother's outside. Let her explain how forgiveness works. As if on cue, my mother steps forward. She places a hand on my arm. Her grip is firm, almost painful. Your father has a calling, Daniel. Her voice is steady. She's said these words before. I can tell this isn't the first time she's had this conversation. Women misunderstand pastoral care sometimes. They read things into spiritual guidance that aren't there. But we've handled this before. The church survives. Marriages survive if we just keep things internal. Internal. I pull my arm away from her. Grace is pregnant with his baby and you want to keep it internal. Babies are blessings, she says, like she's reciting scripture. No matter how they come, You and Grace can raise this child together. No one has to know. You'll be a wonderful father. The word father, directed at me while standing feet away from him, nearly breaks me. Get out, I tell my mother. I need to talk to him alone. She hesitates, looks at my father. He nods once, dismisses her with that small gesture. She's his wife of 37 years, and he dismisses her like a secretary. The door clicks shut behind her. I could go to the board of elders, I say. I could go to the congregation. I could go to the police. You could. He sits back down, leans back in his chair, crosses his arms. But you won't, because you're my son, because this church is your home, because destroying me destroys your mother, destroys this community, destroys everything you've ever believed in. He pauses, lets that sink in. And because I'm your father, and you honor your father and mother, it's literally a commandment, Daniel. You're using scripture to justify. I'm using scripture to guide my son back to wisdom. He stands again, walks to the window that overlooks the sanctuary. Grace made a mistake. I made a mistake. We're human, but God's grace is sufficient. You can choose to be part of that grace, or you can choose to be the person who tears down everything we've built. Your choice. There's a knock. 3 sharp raps. Come in, my father calls. The door opens. My mother enters first, then 4 men I've known my entire life. Thomas Reynolds, head elder. Bill Harrison, church treasurer. Frank Morrison, deacon. And John Patterson, who led my confirmation class when I was 13. They form a semicircle. My mother stands with them. I'm surrounded. Daniel, Thomas says. His voice is gentle. He's a good man, or I thought he was a good man. A retired accountant, married 52 years, grandfather of 6. We've been talking with your parents. We want to help. Help, I repeat. This situation is unfortunate, Bill says, but it doesn't have to be a crisis. Marriages face challenges. The church is here to support you both through this. Support. I taste the word. It's bitter. You mean cover it up? We mean help you move forward. Frank corrects. Pastor David has agreed to step back from counseling duties for a season. He'll focus on preaching and administration. We'll bring in a female counselor for the women's ministry. And we'd like to help you and Grace start fresh somewhere new. Start fresh, John adds, with financial support. So you can build a life for your new family without the stress of rebuilding from scratch. Thomas steps forward, reaches into his jacket pocket, pulls out a check. He slides it across my father's desk. The amount has 6 digits, $400,000, Kushars. The memo line reads, International Missionary Support, Daniel Carter. Take the money, Daniel. My mother's voice cracks. First emotion I've heard from her all day. Go somewhere far away. Start fresh. Be the father this baby needs, and let us handle things here. Handle things? I pick up the check. The paper is crisp, fresh from the printer. They prepared this before I even arrived. You mean silence me? We mean support you, Thomas says, but his eyes tell a different story. This church has been here for 74 years. It serves 800 families. It runs a food bank, a recovery program, a school. Hundreds of people depend on this ministry, on your father's leadership. My father is watching me, silent now, letting his people do the persuading. What if I say no? I ask. The men exchange glances. Thomas clears his throat. Then we'll have to question the legitimacy of your accusations. Your marriage has been struggling, everyone knows that. It's not uncommon for spouses to retaliate when things aren't going well, to make false claims against people in authority. You'll call me a liar. We'll ask for proof, Bill corrects. And without proof, it becomes a he said, she said situation, except Grace isn't here to support your version. She's actually asked us to help her repair her marriage with you, to help you both move past your anger issues. The trap closes around me. They've thought of everything. They've prepared for every angle. And somehow Grace is already on their side, already part of their narrative. My mother steps closer, takes my hand. Daniel, baby, please, for your marriage, for the baby, for our family, just take the money and go. Start over. Be happy. I look at each of them. These people who raised me, who taught me about Jesus, about integrity, about standing up for what's right. And then I look at the check in my hand. $400,000. If you've ever been told to just forgive and move on when someone hurt you deeply, I hear myself say, you know how this feels. Being told the problem isn't the abuse. It's your reaction to it. Thomas frowns. Daniel, I'll take it. The words surprise even me. I'll take the money. I'll leave. But not because you convinced me, because I can't win. Not against all of you. Not against this. Relief floods the room. I can feel it. Shoulders relax. My mother actually smiles. You're making the right choice, my father says. I'm proud of you, son. The word son lands like a slap, but I don't respond. I fold the check once, twice, 3 times, press my thumbnail into the creases until they cut. I'll be gone by morning, I tell them. I walk past my mother, past the elders, past my father, out of his office, down the administrative wing, through the sanctuary where I was baptized, where I was married, where I believed God was real and good and present. The church sign stands in the front lawn, fresh paint, bold letters. God's love never fails. First Baptist Church. I laugh. The sound echoes in the empty parking lot. I laugh until I'm crying, until I'm doubled over, until I can't breathe. Grace is packing when I get home. She's moving mechanically, folding clothes, placing them in suitcases. She doesn't look at me when I enter our bedroom. They called you, I say, not a question. She nods, keeps folding, a blue sweater, the one I bought her for Christmas. What did they tell you to say? That you're angry, that you need space, that it's better if I stay with my parents for a while. Her voice is hollow. They're right, aren't they? You are angry. I am. God, I am. But not at her. Not entirely. She's 25 years old. She came to my father for help, and he used his authority, his position, his twisted version of God's love to manipulate her. She's a victim, but she's also carrying his baby, and she called them before talking to me. She chose their narrative over my need for truth. I don't know what I am, I tell her honestly. She finally looks at me. Her eyes are red, swollen. She's been crying for hours. I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to... Her voice breaks. He said it was normal, that all the pastors do extended counseling with women who are struggling, that it was helping me. By the time I realized what was happening, I had already... She touches her stomach, barely showing. Maybe 12 weeks. They gave me money too, she whispers. Told me to tell you I want to work on our marriage, that I'll move wherever you want, that we can raise the baby together and be happy. And what do you want? I ask. She crumples, sinks onto the bed, buries her face in that blue sweater. I want to go back to January. I want to never walk into that counseling room. She sobs. I just wanted him to tell me I was good enough, Daniel, that's all. I just wanted someone to see me. I should comfort her. I should hold her, but I can't move. My body won't obey. I'm leaving, I tell her. Tonight, I don't know where, just away. She nods, doesn't protest, doesn't beg me to stay. I pack one suitcase, clothes, laptop, the check folded in my pocket. I take off my wedding ring, platinum band we picked out together, and set it on the dresser. Next to it, I remove the cross necklace my father gave me at my baptism. Silver, engraved with my name and a date. The day I supposedly committed my life to Christ. I leave both pieces of metal sitting there, evidence of the man I thought I was. Grace watches from the bed. She doesn't say goodbye. I walk out, load my car. The neighbor's lights are on. Mrs. Henderson is watching through her curtains. This'll be all over the church by morning. Pastor's son leaving in the night. Marriage falling apart. Such a shame. They seemed so happy. I drive past First Baptist one more time. The sign glows in the darkness. God's love never fails. I drive for 7 hours straight, past state lines, past exits I recognize, into territory I've never seen. I stop at a motel somewhere in Kentucky, pay cash, lie on a bed that smells like bleach and old cigarettes. The check is still in my pocket. I pull it out, unfold it, stare at those 6 digits, $400,000 to stay silent, to let him keep preaching, to let him keep counseling vulnerable women, to let the church keep pretending everything is fine. I think about returning it, about calling a lawyer, about going to the police. But then I think about Thomas Reynolds' threat, about Grace's testimony they've already shaped, about standing alone against an institution that's been perfecting its defense mechanisms for decades. 7 years. That's how long it takes me to stop running. 7 years of hotel rooms and new cities, and building a life so far from First Baptist that I almost convinced myself it never happened. Almost. 7 years later, I'm sitting in a coffee shop in Portland, Oregon, 2,000 miles from First Baptist, when the past finds me. I'm not Daniel Carter anymore. Not really. I mean, legally I am. I never changed my name. But I became someone else. Someone who investigates stories instead of living them. Someone who asks uncomfortable questions for a living instead of swallowing comfortable lies. Investigative journalist. That's what my business card says. Freelance mostly. I've written for the Marshall Project, ProPublica, a few regional papers. Stories about institutional abuse, cover-ups, people in power who hurt the powerless and get away with it because everyone around them chooses silence over justice. I wonder sometimes if that's obvious. If people can see the origin story written all over me. My laptop is open. I'm editing a piece about financial fraud at a nonprofit, typical stuff, embezzlement, falsified records, when my phone buzzes. Email notification. The sender field is blank, just a string of random characters. The subject line reads, "You're not the only one." My hand freezes over the trackpad. I stare at those 5 words for a full 30 seconds before I click. The email is short, 3 sentences, no signature. I was 22 when Pastor David Carter told me he could help with my depression. What happened in counseling room 3 destroyed my life. I thought I was alone until I saw your byline on an article about abuse in religious institutions. There's an attachment, audio file, First Baptist 2008 recording MP3. My coffee goes cold while I read those 3 sentences over and over. Someone found me, someone who knows, someone who survived my father. I glance around the coffee shop. It's a Thursday afternoon, students on laptops, a mom with twin toddlers, a couple arguing quietly in the corner. Normal life, safe distance from First Baptist and everything it represents. I plug in my earbuds. The recording is old, degraded. There's static and the hiss of analog equipment. But the voices are clear enough. A woman, young, shaking. "Pastor, I don't think this is..." My father's voice, lower, soothing. "Shh. This is how we counsel women in pain, Rebecca. This is how healing works. Trust me." The timestamp says it runs 11 minutes. I make it to 2 before I rip the earbuds out. Sarah notices from across the room. She's at her own table, working on her own story. We met 4 years ago at a journalism conference, started working together, then living together. She knows about my past, most of it, but I've never played her evidence. Never made it real for her. She crosses to my table, sets her hand on my shoulder. "Daniel, I need to respond to this email." My voice sounds distant, clinical, reporter mode. Can you give me a minute?" She squeezes my shoulder once and goes back to her table. Doesn't push. That's why we work. She understands that some stories need space. I type, "Meet me. Tell me everything. I believe you." I hit send before I can overthink it. The reply comes in 90 seconds. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Jerry's Diner, exit 47 off I-84. I'll be wearing a blue cardigan. Thank you for not ignoring this. I'm Rebecca Hayes. Jerry's Diner is the kind of place that hasn't updated since 1987. Vinyl booths, laminate tables, coffee that tastes like it's been sitting since the morning shift. Rebecca Hayes is already in a corner booth when I arrive. Blue cardigan, like she promised. She's in her late 30s, maybe 40. Dark hair pulled back, no makeup, hands wrapped around a mug she hasn't touched. I slide into the booth across from her. Rebecca, I'm Daniel. I know. She looks up. Her eyes are brown and exhausted. You look like him. Your father, same jaw, same... I almost didn't come. I'm sorry, I say automatically. If this is too... No. She cuts me off. I've been silent for 15 years. 15 years of therapy and antidepressants and telling myself it was my fault. That I misread the situation. That I was the problem. She finally looks directly at me. Then I saw your name on that ProPublica article about the Catholic Diocese cover-up, Daniel Carter, and I thought, God, maybe he knows. Maybe someone will finally believe me. The waitress appears, refills Rebecca's coffee, pours me a cup, disappears without small talk, good instincts. Tell me, I say, everything. Start wherever you need to. Rebecca pulls a folder from her purse, sets it on the table between us. Inside, I can see papers, documents, photographs. I was the church secretary, she begins. 22 years old, fresh out of Bible college, first real job. Your father he was magnetic, you know that. Everyone trusted him. When he offered to counsel me through my depression, I thought it was a gift from God. She opens the folder. Shows me a photo. It's her, 15 years younger, standing next to my father at some church event. His hand is on her shoulder. She's smiling, but now that I'm looking for it, I can see the tension in her jaw, the way she's leaning slightly away. The counseling started normal, she continues. Prayer, scripture reading, talking about my family, my childhood. Then he started asking about my dating history, my sexual experiences. He said it was necessary to understand my spiritual blockages. The coffee tastes like battery acid, but I keep drinking. Anything to have something to do with my hands. It escalated over 6 weeks. He'd schedule sessions late at night, lock the door, tell me it was for privacy, for my protection. Her voice drops. Then one night in counseling room 3, he said that physical touch was part of healing, that the Apostle Paul talked about laying on of hands for a reason. And I was so confused, and he was the pastor, and I thought maybe this was normal, and I just didn't understand because I was young. And she stops, presses her palms against her eyes. You don't have to, I start. Yes, I do. She drops her hands. Because 3 weeks later, I broke down in front of your mother, told her everything. She sat me down in her kitchen, gave me tea, and told me that I had misunderstood pastoral care. That your father would never do such a thing. That Satan was trying to use my mental illness to destroy the church. I'm not surprised, but hearing it still feels like a punch. The elders called a meeting, Rebecca continues, told me I had 2 options. Recant my accusations and receive help for my false memories, or leave quietly with a severance package. They offered me $60,000 and a non-disclosure agreement. She pulls out a document, stapled pages, legal letterhead. I recognize the law firm. They've represented First Baptist for decades. I took the money, she whispers. I was 22, broke, scared. And they made it clear that if I didn't sign, they'd destroy my reputation, make sure I never worked at a church again. I signed, moved to Idaho, changed careers, tried to forget. But you kept the recording, I point out. A ghost of a smile crosses her face. I was depressed, not stupid. I knew something was wrong. I started recording our sessions on my phone, hid it in my purse. I only got 3 recordings before he found out I was asking questions. She taps the folder. This is the only one I kept. Everything else I deleted out of fear, but this one I couldn't erase it. It was proof that I wasn't crazy, that it happened. I pick up the settlement agreement, skim the language, standard NDA clauses, non-disparagement, confidentiality in perpetuity. You're violating this by talking to me, I say. I know. She meets my eyes. Sue me. I don't care anymore, because here's what I learned last year, Daniel. I hired a private investigator, asked him to dig into First Baptist's finances. Do you know what he found? I shake my head. Settlement payments, 5 of them, between 2008 and 2019. Different amounts, $60,000, $75,000, $120,000, all labeled as severance or transition support or missionary funding, all paid to young women who worked at the church or were in the congregation. She leans forward. There were others, Daniel, at least 5, maybe more. Your father has been doing this for years, and the church has been paying them off. The diner sounds fade, the clatter of dishes, the murmur of conversation, the hiss of the grill. It all recedes into white noise. Do you have names? I ask. 2. The PI confirmed 2 others beyond me. Melissa Browning, 2011, Ashley Vincent, 2017. The rest are sealed too tight. The church uses multiple law firms, multiple accountants. They're careful. And Grace? The name catches in my throat. I haven't said it out loud in years. Rebecca's expression softens. Your wife, yes, she was 2019. The PI found a payment to her too. $200,000 labeled family transition support. So they paid her. I knew they would, but having it confirmed, seeing the amount, it solidifies something I've been trying not to think about for 7 years. There's a child, I say quietly. Rebecca nods. I know, I'm sorry. We sit in silence. The waitress refills our cups. Neither of us drinks. What do you want to do? Rebecca finally asks. I'm coming to you because you're a journalist, because you know how to investigate this stuff without getting crushed, and because you're his son. You have access, credibility, history. If anyone can expose him, it's you. I think about my apartment in Portland, my life with Sarah, the distance I've built between myself and First Baptist, the years of therapy to stop dreaming about counseling room 3 and the church office and my father's Bible with its yellow highlighter. If we do this, I say slowly, it's not just him that goes down. It's the church, the elders who covered it up, your mother, my mother, everyone who knew and chose silence. Good. Rebecca's voice is steel. Let them burn. I pull out my phone, open my notes app. Tell me everything. Names, dates, details you remember, and give me that recording. I'm going to build a case that's so airtight they can't dismiss it, can't pay their way out of it, can't silence it. Rebecca talks for 2 hours. I fill 30 pages of notes, names I recognize, elders, deacons, my mother, patterns, tactics, the way my father selected vulnerable women, young, isolated, struggling, always framed as spiritual mentorship, always in room 3, always late at night. When she's done, she slides the folder across the table. It's yours. Do something with it. Please, make him answer for what he did. I take the folder. It feels heavier than it should. There were others. She says again as I stand to leave, find them. They're out there, probably thinking they're alone, just like I did. Find them and tell them they're not crazy, that it wasn't their fault, that someone finally believes them. Sarah is waiting when I get back to our apartment. She's made dinner, pasta, salad, bread, but it sits untouched on the table. She knows from my face that I'm not here. Not really. It's bad, I tell her. Worse than I thought. Tell me. I do. All of it. Rebecca's story, the settlements, the pattern, the systematic cover-up spanning over a decade. Sarah listens without interrupting. She's good at that, holding space for hard things. When I finish, she asks the question I've been avoiding, what about Grace? She got paid too, $200,000 for family transition support. Are you going to contact her? I don't know. I run my hands through my hair. She was a victim, but she chose them, their money, their silence. I don't know if I can, she might testify, Sarah says gently, if you approach her right, if you can show her she's not alone, that there were others. She's right. Journalistically, Grace's story is crucial. The pastor's daughter-in-law, a pregnancy, the ultimate betrayal. It's the case that breaks through the he said, she said defense. React with if you'd expose him right away, or if you'd hesitate, I say to Sarah, because I honestly don't know which is right anymore. She stands, wraps her arms around me. You don't have to decide tonight, but you do have to decide eventually. Because Rebecca trusted you with this, and there are other women out there who need someone to fight for them. Over the next 3 months, I become obsessed. I track down a facilities manager who worked at First Baptist from 2015 to 2020, retired, moved to Arizona. He's the one who gives me the security footage. I always knew something was wrong, he tells me over the phone. Late night counseling sessions, the locked doors, the way certain women would leave room 3 looking broken. But what was I supposed to do? Report the senior pastor? They'd have fired me, called me a liar. Why didn't you delete the footage? I ask. Because I'm not them, he says simply. I kept backups of everything, just in case someone someday wanted the truth. He mails me a USB drive, black plastic, scratched from years in a drawer. The label reads Backup CR3 2016-2019 in fading Sharpie. It's cold in my palm when it arrives, or maybe my hands are just shaking. Sarah sits with me when I plug it in. My laptop fan whirs louder, like it doesn't want to process what it's about to show. The footage is grainy, black and white. Time stamps in the corner. I fast forward through hours of empty hallway, empty room until 11:47 p.m., March 2019. 2 figures enter frame. The taller one, I know that walk, that posture, the way he carries himself with absolute certainty, reaches back and locks the door. The camera records for 43 minutes. I watch too. Sarah reaches over and closes the laptop. That's enough, she whispers. You have it. That's enough. But it's not Grace in the footage. It's someone else. Another woman I don't recognize. Which means there are more victims than even Rebecca knew about. I create a spreadsheet. Names, dates, payments, patterns, cross-reference financial records with church directories, with employment dates, with hospital records when I can get them. The picture that emerges is systematic, calculated. A man who used his position, his authority, his twisted interpretation of scripture to prey on vulnerable women for over 15 years, and an institution that protected him at every turn. I find Melissa Browning on Facebook, send her a carefully worded message. She doesn't respond for 3 weeks. Then, how did you find me? We talk on the phone. She cries, says she's been in therapy for 9 years, that she's never told anyone the full story, that she signed an NDA and she's terrified, but also she's so tired of carrying this alone. There were others, I tell her. You're not alone, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows what he did. Ashley Vincent is harder to find. She changed her name, moved to Canada, but when I finally reach her, she says simply, I've been waiting for this call for 6 years. Tell me what you need. 3 victims willing to go on record. Security footage, financial documents, recorded counseling session. I have everything except the one person whose story would make this undeniable. Grace. I'm staring at her phone number, the same one from 7 years ago, probably disconnected, when my phone rings. Unknown number. I answer. Daniel Carter. Daniel. The voice is familiar and foreign all at once. Older, tired. It's Grace. My heart stops. How did you... Rebecca Hayes contacted me, told me what you're doing, that you're investigating your father, that there were others. She pauses. I hear a child's voice in the background, high-pitched, asking about dinner. I can't testify in person. I can't stand up in front of people and say what happened, but I'll write it down. Everything. What he did, what I did, what they paid me to forget. Grace. And there's something else you need to know. She's 7 now. Lily, she's been asking questions about you, about why she doesn't have a daddy like other kids, about why Grandpa gets angry when she mentions your name. Lily. They named her Lily. I've told her you were bad, Grace continues, and her voice breaks. That you left because you didn't want us. That's what your mother told me to say. But she's getting older and she's smart and she knows something doesn't add up. And She's crying now. I can't keep lying to her, Daniel. I can't keep protecting them. Not anymore. Write it down, I tell her. Everything. Don't hold back. And Grace, I'm sorry for leaving, for not fighting harder, for... You were 26 years old, she interrupts. We were kids. They were adults who should have protected us. This isn't your fault. And what I'm going to write, you'll see. It wasn't mine either. She hangs up. Sarah finds me on the floor of our office, laptop open to the spreadsheet of victims. What happened? Grace is writing a confession, I say. A letter. Everything that happened. She's mailing it. That's good. That's what you needed. There's a child, Sarah, a 7-year-old girl who thinks I abandoned her mother, who has no idea her grandfather is. I can't finish. Sarah sits down next to me. What's her name? Lily. After you expose him, Sarah says carefully, you could reach out to Lily, not as her father, but as someone who wants to know she's okay, that she's not alone in this mess. I nod. Can't speak, because the weight of what I'm about to do is settling in. I'm not just exposing my father, I'm detonating a bomb in the middle of Lily's life, Grace's life, my mother's life, but maybe that bomb is the only way to clear the rubble and build something honest underneath. Grace's letter arrives 8 days later, 8 pages, lined notebook paper. Her handwriting, small, slanted, gets shakier with each page. Sentences crossed out, tear stains make the ink run in places, words bleeding into each other like wounds. The paper is cheap, dollar store spiral notebook. The edges are rough where she tore them out. It smells like coffee and baby powder, like a house with a child in it. Sarah sits next to me while I read it aloud. My voice cracks on page 3. He told me it was God's will, that my depression was a spiritual attack, and he was the only one qualified to help me through it. He said physical intimacy was part of the counseling process for women with my issues. He highlighted verses in his Bible, Song of Solomon mostly, and gave me homework. Reading those verses, meditating on them, I thought it was spiritual. I thought I was healing. Page 5 is worse. I wanted to die, Daniel. When I realized I was pregnant and you were still in Honduras, I wanted to die. I took pills. Not enough, obviously. Your mother found me, took me to the hospital, and while I was recovering, she and the elders came to my room and told me this was my chance at redemption, that God was giving me a baby despite my sin, that I could save my marriage and save the church if I just stayed quiet. They gave me $200,000. Made me promise to tell you I wanted to work things out, that I'd move anywhere you wanted, that we'd be a family. Page 7 guts me. Lily deserves better than this silence. She deserves to know her real father, not biologically, but the man who would have loved her if they'd given you the chance. The man who would have protected her from them. Daniel, you were the best person I knew. I'm so sorry I chose their money over your trust. I'm so sorry I let them turn you into the villain. You weren't. You never were. Page 8 is 14 repetitions of I'm sorry. At the end, there's a photo. Crayon on construction paper, 2 stick figures, both tall. One labeled Grandpa, one labeled Daniel, with a question mark. Between them, a smaller figure with pigtails. Me, written in careful letters. Lily drew me, drew us, even though she's never met me, even though she's been told I'm the bad guy. Sarah takes my hand. She's asking questions. She's 7 years old, and she's already asking the right questions. I can't, my voice breaks. I can't let him do to her what he did to Grace, to Rebecca, to all of them. She's growing up in that house, around him, around people who covered up abuse and called it church discipline. Then don't let him, Sarah says simply. You have the evidence. You have the victims. You have Grace's testimony now. Go home. Tell the truth. End this. I pull out my phone, stare at Grace's number. It rings 3 times before she answers. Background noise, Lily singing something about butterflies. Grace, can I start again. Can I talk to her, to Lily, just for a minute? Daniel, I don't think, please. Silence. Then, Lily, honey, come here. Someone wants to say hi. Rustling. A small voice. Who is it, Mommy? Someone who's been thinking about you for a very long time, Grace says. More rustling. Then, hello? 7 years. 7 years of running and hiding and building a life far away from the wreckage. 7 years of telling myself I made the right choice by leaving. And now this voice, small and curious and completely innocent. Hi, Lily, I manage. My name is Daniel. Pause. Then, are you my daddy? The world stops. Mommy cries when I ask about you. She continues in that matter-of-fact way children have. Grandpa says you were bad, that you left because you didn't want us, but I drew you a picture. It's you and me at the park. Mommy has it. Can you come see it? I can't breathe, can't think, can't... Lily, honey, give me the phone. Grace's voice cuts in. But Mommy, I want to... The line goes dead. I sit there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to silence. Sarah is watching me. Daniel, I booked a flight, I hear myself say. Tonight I'm going home. I'm going to burn it all down. She nods. I'll come with you. No. I stand, walk to my desk, pull out the folder with all the evidence, the recordings, the footage, the financial documents, Grace's letter, Rebecca's testimony. This isn't going to be pretty. It's going to be vicious. They're going to come after me with everything they have. I need you here, building the story, making sure if something happens to me, this still gets out. Daniel, I mean it, Sarah. This is my father, my family, my church. They'll destroy me if they can, but they won't destroy this. I tap the folder. Promise me. If I go quiet, if they silence me somehow, you publish everything. You give it to every news outlet you can find. You make sure Rebecca and Grace and Melissa and Ashley and every woman he hurt gets justice. Promise me. She takes the folder. I promise, but you're coming back. With or without them, you're coming back. I kiss her, pack a bag, and for the first time in 7 years, I buy a plane ticket back to the place I swore I'd never see again. The town hasn't changed. 7 years and it looks exactly the same. Same strip mall, same high school football stadium with the faded paint, same First Baptist Church on the corner of Main and Oakwood. Its white steeple reaching toward a God I'm not sure exists anymore. I drive past it twice before I park across the street. It's early morning, Tuesday. The parking lot is empty except for the maintenance crew's truck. My father's silver sedan isn't there yet. He'll arrive at 9, like always. Coffee from the diner, Bible under his arm, ready to prepare Sunday's sermon or counsel someone who doesn't know they're in danger. But I'm not here for him. Not yet. I'm here for the newspaper. The Millbrook Gazette operates out of a converted house 2 blocks from the courthouse. It's small-town journalism, local sports, city council meetings, obituaries, but the editor-in-chief, Patricia Morgan, has been doing this for 32 years. She knows how to handle a story that could destroy a town's most powerful institution. She's waiting for me in her office, coffee already poured, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looks up when I enter, and I see recognition flash across her face. Daniel Carter, she says. Not a question. I wondered if you'd ever come back. You knew I'd left? Everyone knew. Pastor's son vanishes in the middle of the night. Wife stays behind, pregnant. Whole church talking about it for months. Then the story just stopped, like someone flipped a switch. She gestures to the chair across from her desk. Sit. Tell me why you're here. I place the folder on her desk. I'm here to tell you what really happened, and I'm here to give you evidence of systematic sexual abuse, institutional cover-up, and financial fraud spanning 15 years. But I need you to do something for me first. What's that? Run the story today, front page, before my father knows I'm in town, before the church has time to prepare their defense, before they can threaten anyone else into silence. Patricia opens the folder, starts reading. Her expression doesn't change, but I see her hand tighten on the pages. She reads for 20 minutes, looks at the security footage stills, listens to 30 seconds of Rebecca's recording, examines the financial documents. When she's done, she removes her glasses, rubs her eyes. This is going to destroy this town. This town chose to protect an abuser, I say. Maybe it needs to be destroyed. She studies me. You're his son. I'm his victim, just a different kind. She nods slowly, picks up her phone, starts making calls. Get Michael in here and Jenny. Tell them to clear the front page. We're going to need fact checkers on every line and legal to review before we print. We go live in 6 hours. By noon, it's done. The Millbrook Gazette website crashes from traffic in the first hour. The headline is simple, devastating. Local pastor accused of decade-long abuse pattern. Multiple victims come forward. Patricia ran it with photos. My father's official church portrait. The exterior of First Baptist, a blurred image of one of the settlement checks. And my byline, Investigation by Daniel Carter. My phone starts ringing immediately. Numbers I don't recognize. I silence it. But then one name appears on the screen. Mom, I answer. Daniel, her voice is ice. What have you done? What you should have done 15 years ago. You've destroyed your father. You've destroyed this church. You've destroyed our family. No, Mom, he did that. You just helped him hide it. She's quiet for a moment. Then, the elders are meeting. Emergency session. They want you there to explain yourself. I'm not explaining anything to them, but I'll be there with a recorder, and everything they say goes into the follow-up article. She hangs up. The church parking lot is full by 2 p.m. Not for worship, for war, cars everywhere, church members, board members, people I recognize from my childhood, Sunday school teachers, deacons, the choir director, all here because their church is imploding in real time. I park across the street again. Wait, watch. My father's silver sedan pulls in at 2:15. He gets out slowly. He's aged. More gray in his hair. Heavier around the middle. But he still carries himself with that same certainty, that same authority. He sees the crowd, straightens his shoulders, walks towards the administrative entrance like he's walking to the pulpit. I cross the street, follow him inside. The conference room is packed, 12 elders around the table, my mother in the corner, Thomas Reynolds at the head. They all turn when I enter. My father is already seated. He looks at me for the first time in 7 years. His expression is unreadable. Daniel, Thomas says. His voice is strained. We've read the article. We need to discuss. There's nothing to discuss, I interrupt. I gave you evidence of multiple victims, security footage, financial records, testimony. You can deny it, but that won't change the facts. These are accusations, Bill Harrison says, unverified claims from women who may have... I have a recording. I cut him off. Rebecca Hayes recorded her counseling session in 2008. Want me to play it for everyone here? Let them hear exactly what pastoral care sounded like? The room goes silent. My father speaks for the first time. Son, this is a mistake. These women misunderstood. Don't. My voice is sharp. Don't call me son. Don't talk about misunderstanding. I have footage, Dad. Security camera footage from 2019. I've seen it. The locked door, the 43 minutes. There's no misunderstanding there. My mother makes a small sound, somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Thomas Reynolds stands. His hands are shaking. I'd like to say something. Everyone turns to him. I've been an elder at this church for 28 years, he begins. I've served with Pastor David, trusted him, defended him. He pulls a leather-bound journal from his briefcase, sets it on the table. And I've failed God. I've failed this church. And I've failed every woman David hurt. My father's face goes white. Thomas opens the journal. March 2012. His voice cracks. I wrote, heard rumors about Pastor David and the secretary, discussed with other elders. We decided not to investigate, too damaging to the church's reputation. He flips pages. July 2016. Another young woman came forward, Sarah Mitchell's daughter. We offered her $75,000. She signed an NDA. I'm complicit now. God forgive me. He keeps reading, entry after entry, dates, names, amounts. A decade of cover-up documented in his own handwriting. February 2019. Thomas reads, and his voice breaks completely. Grace Mitchell, she's Daniel's fiancée. She's pregnant. David admitted it was his. We decided to pay her $200,000 and convince Daniel to leave quietly. I watched that boy grow up in this church, and I helped destroy his life to protect a predator. He closes the journal, looks at my father. David, I'm turning this over to the authorities, along with my resignation. I won't protect you anymore. The room erupts. Elders shouting, my mother crying, my father standing trying to regain control. But Thomas places the journal on the table and walks out. The dam breaks. The next 72 hours are chaos. The story goes national. CNN picks it up. Then the Washington Post. Small town church rocked by abuse scandal. Pastor accused of preying on vulnerable women for years. More victims come forward, women I've never heard of. 8, then 12, then 15, all with similar stories. Young, struggling, promised spiritual help, manipulated, abused, silenced. The denomination launches an emergency investigation. A review board flies in from the regional office, and Grace calls me. I'm ready, she says, to testify, in person. I know I said I couldn't, but Lily needs to see me do this. She needs to know her mother fought back. That silence isn't the only option. Are you sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. The community forum happens on Sunday. Ironic timing. The church schedules it for 7 p.m. in the sanctuary. They expect maybe 100 people. 300 show up. Grace arrives with Lily. She's left Lily with a babysitter. This isn't something a 7-year-old needs to witness, but she brings a photo of her, carries it in her pocket like a talisman. I'm in the back, taking notes, recording everything. My father is on the platform with the elders. He's hired a lawyer. The lawyer has advised him not to speak. But his presence alone is inflammatory. People in the pews are angry, hurt, betrayed. The moderator, a denominational representative, explains the process. Victims can share their stories. The church will listen, then the review board will make recommendations. Rebecca goes first, tells her story clearly, calmly. The room is silent except for her voice and the sound of people crying. Then Melissa, then Ashley, then 3 women whose names I don't know. Then Grace. She walks to the microphone at the front. Her hands are shaking so badly she can barely hold the photo of Lily she's pulled from her pocket. My name is Grace Mitchell, she begins. I was Daniel Carter's wife. I was 25 years old when Pastor David Carter began counseling me for anxiety and depression. The sanctuary is completely silent now. 200 people holding their breath. He told me that physical intimacy was part of the healing process, that God's love could be expressed through touch. He used scripture, Song of Solomon mostly, to justify what he was doing. He always scheduled our sessions late at night, in counseling room 3, the one with no windows. Her voice breaks, but she pushes through. I got pregnant. He was the father. And when I tried to tell someone, the church offered me money to stay quiet. $200,000. I took it, and I've regretted it every single day since. She looks directly at my father for the first time. You told me I was special, that God chose me for this. You lied. You abused your power. You hurt me, and you hurt so many others. And you used God's name to do it. She holds up the photo of Lily. This is my daughter. She's 7 years old, and she deserves to grow up in a world where pastors don't prey on vulnerable women, where churches protect victims instead of predators, where silence isn't the price of survival. She sets the photo on the pulpit, walks off the platform. The sanctuary erupts in applause. My father tries to stand. His lawyer pulls him back down, but it's too late. The damage is done. Grace's testimony, the pastor's daughter-in-law pregnant with his child, is undeniable. The consequences come fast. Within a week, the Denominational Review Board releases their findings. Credible evidence of sexual misconduct, abuse of power, and institutional cover-up. They revoke my father's pastoral credentials permanently. He's defrocked, stripped of his title, banned from ever serving in ministry again. The letter arrives at the church on official letterhead, bold text. Pastoral credentials revoked, effective immediately. My father is 63 years old. He's been a pastor since he was 28. Ministry is all he knows, all he's ever been. Now he's nothing. The church holds an emergency vote. Do they keep him on as a member, as a congregant without authority? The vote is 187 to 34. He's removed, asked to leave, not welcome. My mother files for divorce 2 weeks later, not because she suddenly believes the victims, but because my father blames her, tells her she should have managed the situation better. That if she'd been a better wife, he wouldn't have needed to seek spiritual connection elsewhere. She loses her social standing. The women who used to have tea with her, who organized church events with her, who called her Sister Margaret, they stop calling, stop inviting her. She becomes a pariah by association. Criminal charges are complicated. Statute of limitations has expired for most victims. The cases that could be prosecuted, 3 of them move forward slowly. Civil suits are easier. 5 victims file. The church's insurance company settles for $1.2 million total, divided among the plaintiffs. The church implements new policies. No more closed-door counseling. Mandatory reporting training for all staff. Independent oversight committee. Background checks. A complete overhaul of how they handle abuse allegations. Thomas Reynolds testifies to the review board, turns over his journal, admits his complicity. He loses his position as elder, but the church allows him to remain as a member. He starts volunteering with a local domestic violence nonprofit, trying to atone. My father moves to another state, Michigan, gets a job doing manual labor, construction work. His hands, which used to hold a Bible and bless babies, now carry lumber and mixed concrete. No one from First Baptist keeps in touch with him. He's alone. If someone in your life has ever confused forgiveness with letting abuse continue, comment boundaries below. Because here's what I learned. Forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences. It means choosing not to let their actions poison your future. But consequences, those are how we protect the next person. 6 months after the forum, I meet Lily for the first time. Grace arranges it carefully. Therapy for her, therapy for Lily. A supervised meeting at a child psychologist's office with toys and books and soft lighting. Lily is small for 7, dark hair like Grace. My father's eyes, and mine. She's wearing overalls and light-up sneakers. She doesn't know who I am. Grace told her we're meeting a friend who cares about mommy. We sit on the floor. The therapist gives us crayons and paper. Lily draws while I watch. I like your picture, I say. It's a house with a rainbow. Standard 7-year-old art. Thanks. She doesn't look up. My other picture is better, the one with the families. What families? She pulls a folded paper from her backpack, unfolds it carefully. This one is more detailed. 3 sections drawn in crayon. This is the old family. She points to the left side. Stick figures crossed out with angry scribbles. They were mean to mommy. This is the bio family. Middle section, 2 figures holding hands. That's me and mommy. We're okay now. And this? I point to the right section. 3 figures, 2 adults, 1 baby, all holding hands, no one crossed out. That's the chosen family, Lily says matter-of-factly. Mommy says chosen family is people who stay even when things are hard. She says we get to pick them. I look at Grace. She's crying silently in the corner chair. Your mom is right, I tell Lily. Chosen family is the best kind. Lily finally looks up at me, studies my face. You look like Grandpa, the mean one. Are you mean? The question is so direct, so childlike, that it takes my breath away. I try really hard not to be. I say honestly. I make mistakes, but I always try to tell the truth, even when it's hard. She nods, accepts this, goes back to coloring. The therapist gives us 15 more minutes. Lily shows me her other drawings, tells me about her school, her best friend Emma, her teacher Ms. Rodriguez. She doesn't ask if I'm her father. Grace has explained in age-appropriate terms that her bio father made bad choices. That sometimes family is complicated, that the most important thing is that Lily is loved and safe. At the end, Lily hands me the drawing, the one with 3 families. You can keep it, she says. Maybe you can be in the chosen family section if you want. I take the drawing, hold it carefully. I'd like that very much. Sarah and I get married 3 months later. Small ceremony. Just us, the officiant, and a photographer. No church, no guests, no pageantry. We're expecting our own child now, a son, due in January. Grace is in therapy twice a week. She's working with a victim advocacy group, helping other survivors navigate their healing. She's not okay, not entirely, but she's building a life that belongs to her, not to my father's abuse, not to the church's control, hers. Rebecca started a podcast, Believing Survivors. She interviews people who've escaped spiritual abuse, religious manipulation, institutional cover-up. It's small but growing. She says telling her story over and over makes it hurt less, makes it real, makes it hers. We become friends, the 4 of us, Grace, Rebecca, Sarah, and me. We have dinner once a month, talk about everything and nothing. Sometimes we mention the case. Usually we don't. We're more than our trauma now. It's December when I find myself in a church again. Not First Baptist, a different church across town. Grace Church, the irony isn't lost on me, it's smaller. Rented space in a community center. The pastor is a woman named Elena. She's 52, a survivor herself of clergy abuse in her 20s. She went to seminary, got ordained, started this church specifically for people who've been wounded by religious institutions. Her sermons don't avoid the hard topics. She talks about abuse, power, complicity. She talks about lament, about anger, about how God is big enough to handle our rage at the people who used his name to hurt us. Sarah and I attend sporadically. We're not sure what we believe anymore, but being there feels different, safer, honest. This Sunday, Elena preaches on chosen family, on Ruth and Naomi, on how sometimes the people who stay aren't the ones you're born to. They're the ones who choose you, who see you, who fight for you when you can't fight for yourself. After the service, there's coffee and donuts in the back. Rebecca is here with her partner, James. Grace brought Lily. Thomas Reynolds is here too, sitting quietly in a back corner, working his way through his own repentance. We gather around a table. Lily is showing Sarah her latest drawing. This one has 4 families now. Old, bio, chosen, and the new baby family, which is just a stick figure with a round belly and a smile. That's going to be me and the baby, Lily explains to Sarah. Mommy says I get to be a big sister to your baby sometimes, if that's okay. Sarah's eyes fill with tears. That's more than okay. I'm holding my coffee, watching the scene unfold. This makeshift family we've built from wreckage. These people who stayed, who fought, who chose truth over comfort. Elena walks over. How are you doing, Daniel? I don't know, I say honestly. Better, worse, different. She nods. That's the most honest answer anyone's given me all month. I keep waiting to feel vindicated, I admit. He lost everything, his church, his career, his family. Justice was served, but I don't know what I thought I'd feel. Maybe because it's not about feeling victorious, Elena suggests. Maybe it's about feeling free, to build something new, to choose who you become after trauma instead of letting trauma choose for you. Sarah catches my eye from across the room. She's laughing at something Lily said. Her hand rests on her belly. Our son, our choice, our family. Rebecca is showing Grace something on her phone, probably podcast metrics or a message from another survivor. They're both smiling. Thomas is praying quietly, head bowed. Working through his own journey, this is what we built, not from faith in institutions, not from blind trust in authority, but from believing each other, from choosing to stay when it was hard, from refusing to let silence win. I excuse myself from Elena, walk back to the table. Sarah makes room for me, leans her head on my shoulder. Lily looks up at me. Daniel, can you help me spell chosen family for my drawing? I want to write it big. I kneel down next to her. Take a crayon. A CHOSEN. I spell slowly while she writes in careful block letters. FAMILY. She finishes, holds up the drawing proudly. Perfect. Later that night, after we're home, after Sarah has fallen asleep with her hand on her belly, I stand in the nursery we're preparing. The crib is assembled. The walls are painted a soft blue. There's a mobile hanging above the crib, planets and stars. I think about my father, about the man who taught me to pray, who baptized me, who destroyed so much in the name of God. I think about Lily, about all the children growing up in churches where abuse is covered up, where silence is expected, where victims are blamed. And I think about this child, my son, who will grow up knowing the truth, who will never be told that staying quiet is more important than staying safe, who will understand that love isn't control, that faith isn't blind obedience, that family is chosen. I walk to the window, look out at the street, at the normal houses and normal lives and people who have no idea how close they might be to danger, how many churches still protect predators, how many victims still stay silent, but also how many survivors are fighting back, building communities, changing policies, making noise. The work isn't done, it's never done, but it's happening. I place my hand on the window, make a promise to the son I haven't met yet. You'll always know the truth. Not a sermon, not a prayer, just a promise. Because some things aren't negotiable. Honesty, safety, real love that protects instead of controls. We don't leave. Not the people who matter, not the work that needs doing, not the truth that needs telling. We stay, we fight, we build something better from the rubble, and we make sure the next generation knows they're worth protecting.